My brother and my wife betrayed me, and my father told me to keep it down for family image. That's enough for my villain arc, so I decided to burn it all down, leaving no chance for reunion. I, a 30-year-old man, have an older half-brother, whom I'll call Jerry, 35. My dad had Jerry with his ex-wife, but he left her when Jerry was just 6 months old. My mom told me they got divorced because they were simply incompatible. However, my dad continued to play an active role in Jerry's life, sharing custody with his ex-wife. 2 years after his divorce, my dad met my mom, and they married within a year. They had what my mom describes as a fairy tale romance. She recalls sitting in a coffee shop when my dad saw her from outside. Apparently, it was love at first sight, and he walked inside to ask her out. After a few months of dating, he proposed, and my mom instantly said yes, convinced they were soulmates meant to be together. So far, so good, right? Unfortunately, about a year into their marriage, my dad cheated on my mom with one of his coworkers. Out of guilt, he confessed, and my mother decided to forgive him. They went to marriage counseling and worked through their issues. My mother believed having a baby would solve all their problems, which is how I came into existence. My mother thinks this is a romantic story, but I see my parents as a dysfunctional couple, not the perfect image they try to present to the world. Keeping up appearances and pretending to be perfect means a lot to them. Even when I was a child, they would act madly in love whenever people came over, and everyone would shower them with praise for maintaining their spark after years of marriage. But the truth was, like any other couple, they were normal. They didn't constantly kiss or hug each other at home. They certainly weren't in the honeymoon phase as they pretended to be. It was just an act, and I realized that as I got older. This pressure to appear perfect extended to me as well. I was forced to enroll in a bunch of classes so I would excel at everything. As a child, I was constantly busy with little time to relax. It wasn't until high school that I started protesting, and finally, they allowed me some downtime. My dad made sure that both Jerry and I were straight-A students who excelled academically and otherwise. Jerry got into one of the top medical schools in the country, while I ended up at an Ivy League college for business. Always immense pressure on us, and while I don't recommend this parenting style, I'm fortunate it worked out for me. However, my dad also believed he had the right to control our personal lives. My mom was no better, as she always agreed with him. When Jerry turned 30, my dad told him it was time to start looking for a woman to marry and settle down with. He insisted Jerry was getting older and would soon run out of options. At the time, Jerry was dating his now wife, Tina, 34. They had been in an on-again, off-again relationship for almost 5 years, so they knew each other well. After that conversation with my dad, Jerry got serious about Tina, proposed within a year, and they married 3 years ago. Last year, they even had a baby together. Jerry and I aren't close, so I didn't hear any of this from him. Instead, I found out from my dad when he had the same conversation with me earlier this year. He boasted about how he convinced Jerry to marry Tina and how happy Jerry is with a wife and son. My dad wanted the same for me. He even brought up his own affair from before I was born, telling me that he had been unfulfilled but committed to my mom. He claimed that having a child grounded him and suggested I do the same. I took his advice with a pinch of salt. I wasn't about to let him guide my relationship decisions. However, my dad believed he had changed my life as well. But the truth is, I had already planned to propose to my girlfriend Carla, 30. We had been together for 3 years, living together for 2, and I was ready to take the next step. 2 months after the conversation with my dad, I proposed on my birthday. Carla accepted, and we got married 3 months ago. I thought everything was going well, but clearly, I was wrong, or I wouldn't be in this situation now. Carla and I, like I said, had only been married for 2 months. But unfortunately, I had to file for divorce about a week ago after I found out that she had been having an affair with Jerry ever since we got engaged. Huge shock to me, and I wouldn't have even found out if I hadn't accidentally stumbled upon her burner phone. I couldn't find a piece of clothing that belonged to me, so I was searching all over the house. She wasn't at home at the time, and I thought maybe she had kept it with her clothes accidentally. As I went through her clothes, I felt something in one of the pockets of a pair of jeans. I took it out and found another phone. The phone wasn't password protected, and there was only one text thread on it. The phone number looked familiar, and sure enough, it was Jerry's. I was horrified but continued to scroll through the chat. The text started about 3 weeks after I proposed to her, and they were flirting like 2 teenagers. A few months into our engagement, they had confessed their love for each other and were promising to stick it out no matter what. Their plan was to stay with their respective partners until my nephew turned 5 and didn't need his mother as much. Then, they would file for divorce and confess the affair. Jerry would get shared custody of his son, and they would leave us to be together. I was horrified to read all that, and even more so when I realized they planned to carry on this farce for 5 years. It was deranged. I immediately started packing my things so I could leave the house. Carla wouldn't be home until late, so I took the time to pack all that I could. I took screenshots of the messages on her phone and drove to a hotel out of town. I didn't leave her a message, just left the burner phone on our bed. I knew she'd know what it meant. I felt sick to my stomach because, even though Jerry and I were never best friends, we had never been on bad terms. From the messages, I figured out that he made a move on Carla the night of our engagement. I had proposed during my birthday party with friends and family there, including Jerry. Apparently, while I was busy socializing, Jerry and Carla made out in the backyard. I noticed Carla was missing for a while, but I didn't think much of it at the time, assuming she was freshening up her makeup. But as I read the texts, I realized they had been reminiscing about that night, making several references to their rendezvous. It was disgusting. I had been celebrating us while she was off making out with my married brother, who also happened to be the father of a child. That evening, I called my lawyer and told him I wanted to file for divorce. I wanted to ensure Carla didn't get anything out of the divorce, like alimony or a settlement, because I was in a much higher paying position than her. From the texts, I saw that she was looking down on my profession, saying she'd rather be with a doctor than a glorified accountant. For the record, I co-own a business that I started with 2 friends from business school, and we're doing well. I never understood why she would look down on me when she was a corporate employee herself. I always knew she was materialistic, but this was sad. They made fun of me behind my back, and I started to hate Jerry. I knew I would eventually tell Tina and make sure she knew she was married to a lying cheater. I just needed the courage because I was in a dark place. I blocked both Carla and Jerry everywhere as soon as I found the phone because I didn't want to hear their excuses. I was done. 2 days after moving to the hotel, I expected at least one of them to apologize, but instead, I got a call from my father on the 3rd day. He started by saying he had heard about the affair. Carla had found out I knew when she saw the phone on the bed and contacted Jerry because I wasn't answering her calls. Since neither of them could reach me, Jerry spoke to my dad, who was able to reach out. My father said he was sorry for what had happened, and I thought he was being supportive. But then he asked me not to tell anyone about the affair just yet. I already knew why, but I asked anyway. I recorded what he said next. He admitted that both he and Jerry were afraid I would tell Tina about the affair and they wanted to keep it quiet for now. My dad told me that, since I was unwilling to speak to Jerry and had blocked him, he felt it was his responsibility to inform me that neither he nor my mother wanted me to tell Tina about the situation. They said that, unlike me, Jerry had to think about a child, and it would ruin his life if I told Tina he had been cheating on her with Carla. Tina came from a very well-connected family, and it was likely she would use her power and influence to ensure she had the most sway in the custody arrangement. Jerry just couldn't accept that. So through my dad, they were requesting that I keep quiet and not tell Tina the truth. They even mentioned that they had spoken to Jerry and made him promise to stop seeing Carla. If I wanted to, I could work things out with my wife, similar to how my mother did with my dad's mistakes, and that it turned out to be a beautiful marriage despite the issues. I thought it was audacious for my parents and Jerry to try to convince me not to tell Tina about the affair, especially after he had wronged me so badly. I couldn't believe they had the nerve to expect me to agree to this. I immediately hung up because I was done with the conversation and didn't want to entertain it further. I was furious. Knowing my parents had always cared deeply about their image, but this was madness. There was no way they actually expected me to keep quiet. I wasn't surprised though, the cheating apple doesn't fall far from the cheating tree. Of course, my dad wanted me to stay silent so Jerry could get away with everything. They wanted me to brush it all under the rug and pretend everything was fine, just to maintain the appearance of a perfect family. Suggesting that I forgive Carla and Jerry and patch things up so everything could return to normal required some real guts. I was enraged that they thought this was a good idea. In the heat of the moment, I decided to text Tina and tell her everything, including that Jerry had asked my dad to instruct me to keep this a secret. I also included screenshots of the messages I had found on the burner phone. Then I turned my phone off. I didn't want anyone contacting me because I knew things would escalate, and I didn't want any part of it. A couple of hours later, when I thought it was appropriate, I turned my phone back on and found it full of messages and missed calls from my family. Everyone was extremely angry with me, but I only cared about Tina's response. The first text I checked was from her. She hadn't said much, just that she was thankful I had chosen to tell her the truth and that she knew what to do now. It sounded a little ominous, but I soon understood what she meant. From the other messages, everyone, including my mom, dad, and a few other family members, was clamoring about how Tina and Jerry had a huge fight after I sent the message, and Tina had moved in with her parents with their son. In the aftermath, it became clear that divorce was very much on the table for them, and Tina might file for full custody. This wasn't good for Jerry, as she would likely try to limit his time with his son, even if he got shared custody. I don't know why, but my family is blaming me. If they didn't want this outcome, they probably should have taught Jerry not to cheat. This is on him. I have received a lot of angry messages over the past few days since I sent Tina the text and she left him. I think it's really unfair that everyone is blaming me, but it's even more unfair to claim that I ruined a happy family. I don't understand where that is coming from because, if they were truly happy, Jerry wouldn't have cheated. I know I'm right, but I still feel a bit uneasy because I've heard that Jerry is really miserable now. I don't feel comfortable with the idea that he might not get full custody. Though it's fine for me since I don't have kids, for them, it's different. I regret telling my brother's wife about the affair with my wife. Update. Okay, so it's been close to a week since I sent that message, and Tina left the house. Things have become relatively quieter now in the sense that nobody is constantly messaging me and reminding me that this is all my fault. This is mostly because I have blocked everyone. I really don't need that sort of negativity in my life anymore. The only person who can still contact me is Carla, since I unblocked her because the divorce proceedings are about to begin. However, she is using that window to try and talk to me and explain that she wasn't thinking straight and that she is apologetic for cheating on me. I don't know what she hopes to accomplish with this, but it's not really working. I don't feel bad for her. I don't even feel bad about what is happening. I think it's great that she cheated because it saved me from wasting my time with her. I can't imagine being married to her for a year or more and then finding out she had been cheating on me all along. Or worse, letting her plan succeed and then being together for 5 years before finding out about the affair. I'm trying to put a positive spin on this and come to terms with the fact that she was never the right one for me. Someone who can agree to marry me and then go make out with my half-brother can never be my soulmate. I was wrong about her, and I'm glad I was. I'm still living in the hotel, and nobody has been able to find me yet, which I'm really thankful for because I don't know what I would do if they were able to track me down. I know it's only a matter of time before they do find out, since there aren't many hotels in this area, and they know that I'm not in any of the places in the city. I've been working from here, and it's been lonely and strange, but there's not much I can do about it. The only thing I hope works out for me is the divorce. She has already been served, but she hasn't responded to it yet, and I guess she's probably just holding out hope that I might change my mind because of her consistent begging. It's optimistic of her, but it's not going to happen. Update. Hey guys, so 3 days since the last update and, sure enough, my dad and Jerry were able to trace me. They went through every hotel in the city and realized that I wasn't in any of them. So, they started looking for me outside of town and found my car in the parking lot of this hotel. I had already informed the front desk staff that if somebody came looking for me, they were not supposed to tell them I was here. When my dad and Jerry confronted them about it, they said that nobody by my name was here in the hotel, but my dad and Jerry had already seen my car in the parking lot. So, they knew the staff were lying and started throwing a tantrum in the lobby. They began screaming and hurling cuss words at the receptionists, which forced them to calm me down to deal with the situation. Once I came down, security escorted both of them outside, and I went out to talk to them. I had no idea what they even wanted to discuss with me because the damage was already done, and Tina knew the truth. My dad and Jerry told me that they had come up with a solution and a way for me to make up for what I had done. They said I was going to be called to testify against Tina in court, and all I had to do was say a few things to make Tina look like an unstable wife and mother, which is why Jerry cheated on her. That way, Jerry would get full custody. They said things were not looking good for him because, along with the cheating, Tina also had a lot of other complaints against him that made him look like a bad father. He was mostly not at home, and now Tina knew he was out with Carla. There were also other issues, like he claimed he loved his son but never did anything for him. All the baby duties, like changing diapers and feeding him, fell to Tina, and no matter how much she requested him, he would always claim to be too tired. Not only that, but he also wouldn't do any of the chores around the house. Tina had been fine doing it all herself before the baby, but she couldn't do it anymore and wanted to get out of the marriage. Honestly, I don't understand why they thought telling me this would work. It just convinced me that I did the right thing and that Tina was better off without him. Besides, it was entitled of them to expect any help from me after screwing me over, especially with something like this. They wanted me to lie about Tina so they would get full custody. I mean, it was ridiculous to even expect that I would agree to it. I told them I didn't want to do it and that they meant nothing to me, so I didn't have to make up for anything. Then, I walked away without even bothering to wait for a response because I knew they couldn't change my mind. I also instructed the security person to have them thrown out because I didn't want them anywhere near here and mentioned how dangerous they were. So, that was enough. They got kicked off the hotel property, but I still had to apologize for their behavior. The only reason they didn't get the cops called on them was that they didn't want any bad press associated with them. Otherwise, they definitely would have called the police and had my dad and Jerry arrested. So, it's been 2 days since Dad and Jerry showed up at my hotel. I haven't heard back from them since, but Carla has been texting me a lot more now. We have set the date for the first meeting with a court-appointed mediator, which is coming up in a week. She isn't even contesting the divorce, so I don't know why she keeps texting me. I haven't even opened her chat because I don't have the bandwidth to deal with all this drama anymore. I know it'll just be the same old, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done this to you." If you ask me, it's all BS because if she really was sorry, she would have tried to make more of an effort to contact me. She would have called me at the very least, knowing that I'm not much of a texting person, or, better yet, she might not have cheated at all if she knew I didn't deserve this. Up until a few days ago, she was limiting herself to 2 texts per day, but now she's texting me almost every hour. I just haven't found the energy or mental strength to open the chat and see what she has to say, but I think I'll do it soon because it might be something important. So this update is coming just 2 hours after the last one. I know it's pretty soon, but I checked the messages that Carla had been sending to me and found out that she had apparently ended things with Jerry. They had a recent discussion, and she discovered that for him, things had been purely physical. All the promises he had made to her were merely things he said for the sake of it. She's obviously very disappointed because, unlike him, she was serious about their relationship and had actually started falling for him. Carla told me that she was very sorry for everything she had put me through and, to make up for it, she was not going to contest the divorce or seek any settlement or alimony. She knew she didn't deserve it, so that's one problem solved. At least I won't have to go through a long, drawn-out process and fight for myself. I didn't reply to her message because I didn't know what to say. It's sad, but she kind of had it coming. What was she even thinking, getting involved with a married man with a child, especially when she was getting married herself? It was quite foolish of her, but it all worked out well for me, so I don't have any complaints. I'm honestly glad I checked those messages because it means I'll have to work a lot harder on the divorce than I initially thought. I forwarded all those texts to my lawyer and saved them as screenshots in case I need them later. Update. Hey, so it's been a couple of months since I posted here, but I've been really busy. The divorce and everything took a lot less time once the waiting period was over. In our state, we only have to wait 90 days, so once it was over, it was a relatively straightforward process. Carla only got to keep the things she had bought for herself. I got everything else, including the house, so I moved back in. She got her car, and since we hadn't been married for a long time, our finances were separate anyway, so there was nothing to sort out in that regard. Jerry and Tina are in the middle of their divorce, and the custody situation is getting pretty nasty from what I've heard. It's sad for my nephew, but Tina has told me that I'm allowed to see him. That's a huge victory for me because I really like the little kid and hope to have one of my own someday. Definitely will, but probably not with Carla. Anyway, I'm trying to get my life back on track, and so far, it's going well. I just hope it continues to go well afterward as well.